Hello and welcome. Welcome back to the World Illustration Awards Winner Interview Series. Presented by the AY in partnership with the Director of Illustration, we celebrate great illustration from around the globe. This is the 7th interview in our series, where we are interviewing our amazing WIA 2024 winners. And today I'm thrilled to be joined by Kate Rolfe, who was one of our category winners. She was our professional children's publishing category winner in 2024. Welcome, Kate.
Hello, thank you.
And can you start by telling us about yourself and your illustration practice?
Sure. Well, I work in children's books. I like to write as well as illustrate. For illustration, I tend to develop my practice or the way that I choose to approach each project based on the content of the project. So, for example, my first book, Wolf and Bear, uses a technique called cyanotype printmaking, which I decided to use because there's a metaphor in the book that uses light and shadow as to symbolize mood and mental health. And so I wanted to use cyanotype for that project because it's literally printmaking with sunlight and shadow. And so it felt really right to use that as the sort of medium for that project. And I used a little bit of cyanotype too in my second book, Wiggling Words, but just on the character. And the look of that project is really carried by the hand printed letterpress blocks that I use, and I like to sort of vary how much ink I use on them, so they create lots of different textures on the page, and the letters there sort of create a shape on the page themselves, and a sort of a form of their own. And so that, yeah, it's been quite varied. The next two books that I'm working on they both use a little bit of cyanotype, one more than the other, because one is set at night time, so it's really exciting to explore how much I can push the cyanotype process for that. And the other one is exploring a little bit more of sort of torn paper and a little more tactile other mediums in there too. So it's really led by what the book is, really, and the sort of meaning behind the media that I choose.
That's so interesting. Thank you for sharing that insight. And it sounds like your work is very tactile, it's very hands-on. It's not as digitally created as some illustration is these days. It sounds like you really embrace the physical techniques that you love using.
Yeah, well, I use loads of really traditional techniques, but I do also use digital as well. And to be honest, I find it very helpful to be able to, it allows me to push the traditional techniques as far as I can, because I know that I can fall back on some sort of digital manipulation to just pull it together at the end because particularly cyanotype, it's quite a unpredictable medium. um, and so it's nice then to be able to use some digital skills to just pick out pick out the areas that have worked well and choose another maybe I've done like 3 or 4 prints and half of the illustration has overexposed and there's complete white sometimes, or completely dark or completely white if it's underexposed, and so knowing that I can use digital skills as well enables me to be able to sort of pick and choose which areas are usable, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. That's so yeah, it's a good balance of the two. So you're embracing the fantastic physical process, but but the digital gives you that flexibility to
Yeah.
refine it for the print stage.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. I mean, the other
really
thing is the letters in Wiggling Words. I was very sort of grateful to have borrowed some big boxes full of letterpress blocks to use. However, there are so many letters in this book that there would be no way that I could physically that the range of size of them. So some of them are huge, some of them are really tiny. I should show you really while I'm talking about it. So some of them are huge and some of them are really tiny. There's a little tiny one down here. And so that range wouldn't be possible without using digital skills to place them. And so basically what I did was created about 12,000 digital letter brushes to use for it, using them physically. I printed them physically and then converted them into digital brushes basically to in order
Okay.
to allow me to move them around on the page, because there's just no way to do that otherwise.
Yeah. So it gave you
Um,
that opportunity to play with scale a lot more.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, like
Yeah.
develop that technique a little bit further and yeah, make the
Yeah.
most of it and help it sing and shine on the page.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, can you also tell us, so Wiggling Words, you've actually entered twice into the competition because the
That's
first time
right.
was in
Yeah.
2022 where it was also a
Yeah.
winner.
Yeah.
And
It
that
was.
was kind of the early stages, I guess, of you developing the project. And now the book
Yeah.
has just actually been published this year.
It
So
did in
we've
like a
sort of
week.
been with you through the whole journey of this book in the awards.
It has.
Can
Yeah. It's been amazing.
can you tell us like why you decided to enter it in
Mhm.
22 and also in 2024?
Sure. Yeah. So back in 2022, I was just making a few experimental pieces of artwork, really, about my dyslexia. And so I was going into the letterpress room at university. I was doing a master's at Cambridge School of Art at the time, and I was just printing loads and loads of letters and drawing a little character moving around between them. Um, and when it came to thinking about whether I should enter something into the World Illustration Awards, that was an image that just I had kind of felt warm towards, I guess, at the time. And I didn't even really have enough to enter more than a single image at that point. I'd made a few, but I didn't feel like they were a cohesive series or sequence in order to enter that. So I just entered a single image of a child lost amongst a forest of letters. Um, and yeah, I was absolutely blown away to win the New Talent Award. It was amazing. And so that then really over the last 2 years, I've worked even more on the project, obviously with my publisher and my agent. We've we've pulled it together into a story, and it's now it's going to be a book this year. And so it felt amazing to be able to enter it into the professional category this time as a complete book. Here it is, it's ready to go. And yeah, it just feels like that the World Illustration Awards have completely bookended both the start and the finish of the full circle of this project. And yeah, I don't know if it would have had the same journey without that. It's I feel like it's been pivotal in the progress of this project, really. So I'm super grateful.
Wow. That's so lovely to hear. So yeah, it probably was the jump off point for it to become an actual book because you entered as a student and not
Yeah,
knowing what potential it could have and just something, it was just something you really loved, which is so wonderful. And that's what we always say when people are entering the awards is choose the project you just love the most.
yeah,
It doesn't have to be like the fanciest client or the most polished project. It's
yeah,
the one that you just feel really connected to and really you feel something really special about it. And that's clearly the case with this project for you. So
yeah,
it's so wonderful to see how it's evolved and to hear that story of what's happened from that single image and now it becoming a physical book, which is so exciting.
yeah.
Thank you. That's really, really wonderful to hear. So one of my next questions was why did you create your wedding project? But you've explained that really well in the last answer. So being part of the awards in 2 different years, and actually in 2023, your project Wolf and Bear was also shortlisted.
Right, yeah.
So can you tell us what you've enjoyed in these last 3 years about being part of the long list, the shortlist, and a winner
Yeah.
over these 3 years?
Well, I mean, it's a huge platform to be part of. It's amazing to get your work seen, and it's a huge boost to your confidence as well. You know, the just to be on the short list or the long list even it's a real accolade. And so yeah, it's given me a huge boost to the start of my career. So yeah, it's been amazing. Just such a great platform to be seen on.
Are there any sort of elements of the long list and short list stages that you really enjoyed, or being part of the awards night as well when you were a
Yeah,
winner?
the awards night is always fun.
Yeah.
Especially because so I've often got a friend on there too, so we get to we get to sort of enjoy it together, and cheer for each other, which is always really nice. So yeah, just seeing your work up there alongside such like incredible artists, is something to be so proud about, you know. It's yeah, been fab.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, we do hear lovely stories of people connecting as illustrators and becoming friends through the awards as well, because
Yeah.
it gives you that opportunity and that access to a wonderful community of illustrators.
It is
That's
always a nice
really,
night. Yeah, you get to when you get to sort of chat to random people at the awards. There's always because they do this sort of speed networking, which is a little bizarre at first, but once you get into the swing of it, it's really fun because you get all sorts of people and you get to have really good chats. So yeah, it's good fun.
oh, that's really great to hear. Yeah, it's because we have the shortlist, like as a shortlist, you get invited and then you find out if you are a winner during the awards night.
Yeah,
But we also have commissioners join us, and we have the AOI team and our sponsors joining us on the night, and agents and all sorts of lovely people who are there to celebrate illustration. So there's lots of brilliant people to chat to on the night.
yeah,
So I'm so glad to hear that you've had a really good experience with that.
yeah,
Um, so following, obviously, it's been an amazing 3 years for you with these two projects. So what
yeah.
impact has winning or being shortlisted for your projects had on you since? You've mentioned already, it's helped increase your confidence.
Yeah.
And also that first project has turned into a final book this year, in the last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, what other impact would you say it's had so far?
Well, I think actually it's a slightly unusual one, but relating to confidence, I suppose. Prior to entering the first illustration that I sent in 2022, back then, although I was making artwork about my dyslexia, it wasn't really something that I ever really talked about. And to be honest, I think I kind of tried to hide it a little bit, or at least not intentionally hide it because I was ashamed of it, but just, you know, you try to you sort of mask this, you know, that sort of thing, trying to kind of not make your struggles too obvious, I guess. And since that, through this process, really, since because it's kind of talking about the project because it did so well, and was so amazingly received by the World Illustration Awards. I've had to talk about the project loads, and about being dyslexic. And it's really sort of, to be honest, weirdly, having talked about it so much in through that process has actually led me to seek more support and find new ways of supporting my dyslexia through it. And to be honest, 2 years ago, I was still not really able to read a full book. And now, having spent a lot more time thinking about, talking about, exploring my dyslexia in the last 2 years, I found a method for me that actually works, and I've started to read like all of the books that I've been collecting over the years. I'm actually able to engage with and find out what happens in them. And so it's kind of been there's a funny way to say it, but it's kind of been a bit of a journey of self-discovery as well as just the confidence in my own work. It's given me the confidence to engage more with what the topic that the book is about as well. So that's been
Wow,
amazing.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's not what I was expecting you to say, but that's so wonderful to hear that it's had that impact and that it's given you that confidence and self-belief and just yeah, opened up a whole new world for you if it's meant that you've been able to read books that you've been wanting to engage with for so long.
Yeah.
And I'm sure as a book on its own, Wiggling Words will inspire children. It's a children's book, but it's
Yeah.
very accessible for all ages, I'm sure, and like I'm sure it will hopefully inspire other children with dyslexia to do
Mhm.
the same, to like understand and reach out for help more than they have done perhaps,
Yeah.
and to celebrate it, because it's such a beautiful book, and it celebrates this thing that you said yourself is maybe you felt you had to hide it, but
Yeah.
it's celebrating it in this book, which is wonderful.
Yeah. True.
That's really wonderful to hear. So as a winner of over the last couple of years, or in 2 different years, you would have received free membership for the AOI. So can you tell us a bit about what has been your favourite resource as have been an AOI member in the last few years?
Yeah, yeah, I actually love being part of the AOI. It's been an amazing thing to be able to enjoy. Um, I really enjoy the free talks and webinars. Some of them are free, some of them are reduced if you're a member, but they're all amazing. And I've been to some really helpful ones that have like they do a members webinar about like taxes and things like that, which is really helpful. I've also had a really good experience contacting the AOI about a contract query that I had, and got really amazing help with that. But yeah, for me, like because I think the webinars are something that come up quite often. I mean, they're practically like at least I think at least a couple of times a week, if not more often. Sorry, a couple of times a month, I think, if not more often than that. I I seem to be attending things very often anyway. Yeah, so they're really helpful, and the drawing diversity ones have been great. There's been a lot of um, online talks that have been talking about how to represent different people, different types of. I think there was some about different neurodiversity, kind of, which I really enjoyed. Obviously, because my work is in that area, so they've been really helpful to sort of see how other neurodivergent artists are representing themselves and things and their own experiences in the same way that I am. So yeah, they've been a particular favourite for me anyway.
Oh, that's really good, because that's a fairly new series that we've introduced in the last 2 or 3 years, I think. And that's, yeah, we've expanded it as much as we can. It's kind of taken on quite a life of its own. So that's great to know it's provided inspiration and support for you as well. But yeah, the AOI team worked really hard on putting together an amazing program of talks and webinars. And they always have fantastic guests involved. So yeah, that's really lovely to hear that you're getting lots of inspiration from it, and it's been really good for you as well. So yeah, fantastic to hear that you're enjoying your AOI membership. And yeah, as I said, all winners do get a free membership for the year, but it sounds like you've really been able to make the most of it. And the contracts as well, like I think that on its own is worth a membership,
Yeah.
because like I think any illustrator I speak to, like that on its own, like if you can get a good contract written or support on how to negotiate good contracts, then that's worth its weight in gold. So we're going to just tie up the interview by asking you, what advice would you give to anyone thinking of entering the World Illustration Awards?
Well, I almost didn't the first year that I entered. I almost didn't send that first illustration off because I thought, well, it's only one, or I don't know, you really do not see your own work. And I was in all of that sort of, oh, it's not, is it good enough kind of query. And yeah, and luckily I did. Because I didn't know it was going to win. I really thought, oh no, don't worry, don't bother, sort of thing. But luckily I did. And I just think that you cannot see your own work. You cannot judge it. The best thing to do is just to make something authentic to you and put it out in the world and let the world decide what they think of it. And it's not up to you to decide, just enter it and let somebody else make that decision. So
That's fantastic advice. And yeah, that's what we always say is like, yeah, the whole imposter syndrome thing, like everyone basically has it, however professional you are and whatever stage you're at in your career, everyone's always questioning their own work. But exactly, you look at your own work far more than anyone else does. So you're going to overanalyze it perhaps more than others. Yeah, so it's always the way of this way of putting it out in the world through entering the awards is showing it to so many new fresh eyes that won't have seen your work before, and
yeah,
as you say, are so often massively inspired by what you're creating. And that was obviously the case with your project, and it's led to so many exciting things for you.
yeah.
So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for chatting to us today, and for being part of the World Illustration Awards over the last few years.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, been great.
Thank you.